After 2010, they directly targeted the Uyghur women. Police came raiding the Uyghur family and by police by hand take off the hijabs from the Uyghur women's. Elkun'un xiyali Irak geçmişte. Sığınar her baharni uzak kütüşte. Ünder qaraqışni baldır ketişke. Keldiğimi baharım seni sorayım.
Uyghur Muslims are a Turkic ethnic group from the region of East Turkestan or Uyghurstan. Today that region has been colonized and renamed to Xinjiang by the Chinese authorities. Even as we speak today, Uyghur Muslims as an ethnic group are being targeted by Chinese authorities under what they call an anti-terrorist strategy. Up to 2 million Uyghur Muslims and other ethnic minority Muslims are being held in detention camps across the region in what is being called the largest incarceration of peoples since the Holocaust of World War II. Today, Uyghur Muslims continue to be abused, killed, and tortured under a campaign of genocide in an attempt to eradicate their heritage, culture, religion, and people. As a result, many Uyghurs have been forced to flee from China into countries across Central Asia, to Turkey, and to Western nations like the UK. Aziz Isa Elkun is one such Uyghur Muslim who was forced to find refuge here in the UK. On today's episode of Being Muslim, we're going to be speaking to Aziz. He's a Uyghur activist, scholar, and poet. I'm personally hoping to be able to hear not only about his life story and his background, but also about what he's doing today to raise awareness and to help combat against China's ongoing genocide. You were born in East Turkestan, if I'm correct. And you grew up there as well. So during your childhood, could you tell that the Chinese state was controlling you in any way, or what did you notice, I guess, growing up there?
Yes, I grew up in the countryside, in the village. Until I was 12 years old, I have never seen any Han Chinese.
Really?
Yeah. And only I was at the secondary school. First time they introduced us 2 hours Chinese lesson. And that was, okay, that's such a thing.
Was that the first time you learned the Chinese
language?
Really?
Yes. That was in 1981. I increasingly began to understand that this is injustice, there's poverty, and then I was able to read some historical books and understand what's the history we must have. And then clearly I understood that was actually a part of colonization. That was around 14 or 15 I began to understand the reality, the injustice.
That you were being basically colonized by China.
That was my early memory. Uyghur's population used to be like more than 4 million. But at that time there's 250,000 Han Chinese soldiers and their family members, right? That was 1949 population. Now, 2021, their population are more than 15 million.
15 million.
15 million. So 1985, we demanded stops. This is Han Chinese migration, which is state sponsored. A year later, we organized. We just produce posters, leaflets by hand, ink, pencil. And they put all the demands again, posted everywhere in the town center.
Were you scared that they might do something to you?
No, I didn't. We are very kind of full of spirit that time. We don't, I mean, because this is cool to do something, doing a change. Police arrested us. They found arrested because they checked our handwritings, everything. That's how my political life started.
Do you feel like you were forced to leave China, or did you willingly leave China?
I was predicted that the future risk for my life, my safety, because whenever any kind of incident happens in the city or any parts of the town, I was regularly questions or received harassment by local police because they labeled me with the charge of separatism, splitism, ethnic separatism. Once you get that kind of accusation, you will be finished. You cannot find any job because that time private sector was not that developed, 1990s. When I left, I was 28. And I thought many weeks, months, what should I do for the future? Should I be a free person, free human being? I will be able to speak freely and bring justice for the Uyghurs, for my family, for myself, for my friends. So only way is you have to live.
So is it correct to say that there is a genocide happening?
Yes, yes, there's no question about that. I mean, we are talking about 1 million Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims detained into the concentration camp. That was in 2017, in early spring. Now 2021. Even the Chinese, they called Xinjiang Daily newspaper reported that was in 2018, more than 6 million people participated in the re-education camp.
What are some actual stories from the region? I mean, do you get arrested for just speaking the Uyghur language or for wearing hijab?
After 2010, they directly targeted the Uyghur women. Police came in raiding the Uyghur family, and by hand take off the hijabs from the Uyghur women's hijab, and then men cannot stand there and try to protect them, and the violence occurred, and the kind of loss of, and the China immediately labeled it as a terrorist act. Once I saw a photo, 2 young Uyghur girls came to walking on the street, a long dress, and officials hold the scissors in their hand and stop that girls standing and cutting the dress. I shared on my Twitter. You can find more on my Twitter. That's the reality. This is my father.
This is your father?
Yeah, that's me. That was 1992 when I was in Aksu. This is my mother in our orchard family home. This is my mother. My mother arrived at Israel airport in 2011 in August. She came to visit me, first time ever.
Really?
And she stayed 3 months and left.
Do you feel personally targeted by the Chinese government because of your activism?
So in 2019, I was missing him terribly. I was looking via Google Earth. I looked sometimes how the changes in the village, and when I looked at one, not same as before, I was shocked what I've seen. The flood and everything, all grave cemetery was gone. And when I visited for the last time in 2012, I built a graveyard. I built a tomb for my father with my cousins, my uncles, for my father and mother. You have that kind of tradition when your parents become older, you have to early prepare it. And that was all gone, all destroyed. And I gave interview to CNN in that year, in that year. So yes, China directly started attacking and defaming and discrediting me. So CNN published that interview in 3rd of January 2020. A week later, so they found my mother, CGTV, Chinese Global TV Network reporters, and forced my mother to speak against me.
Really?
She basically said, my son's telling us what my son told to me that's wrong. And this is no, as his father's new tomb. Government helped us build a new tomb. And since then until now, I didn't hear any news about my mother. I don't know how she's coping. She's physically she's not well. She has a health problem, and now she's a grieving widow, and almost 80 years old. And also once I received a short text message. My sister, she stayed in the camp for one year and a half. I just received a short message. She has 2 children, and I don't know what kind of treatment she has received in the camp. And I tried to ask because my mom was in the camp, in the concentration camp, but I didn't get the information. So I have very limited information about my family members. 40 years now since the Uyghur genocide came to the mainstream media's attention. So it's a really sad reality. And how long we keep going like this, and how long the Muslim majority of country keep silence until Uyghurs will disappear from this world. And this is we have many variants of the doppa. Doppa means hat wearing, and every region has its own color as well. And this is among the localized version, but when you look at big picture, this doppa also wears by Uzbeks as well, by Tajiks as well, by Kazakhs as well, different color, different pattern.
Stories like Aziz's are only too common, but despite China's attempt to eradicate Uyghur culture and heritage, Aziz is working tirelessly to help preserve Uyghur culture.
Personally, I have deep pain and sorrow in my heart, because such a beautiful culture, such a beautiful people never think or seek any harm to anyone. And Uyghurs as a nation, Uyghur Muslims should be able to enjoy their life, should be able to live peace without any persecution.
After speaking with Aziz and spending the day with him, I'm reminded again about our duty as Muslims to really stand up against injustice and to stand with those who are being oppressed. And someone like Aziz, who is fighting against this massive system of oppression with poetry and activism, he needs to be given our support and solidarity. While the situation is deeply horrifying, I think there's something incredibly beautiful with the way he's chosen to live his life. And I hope the next time you turn on the news and you hear about Uyghurs or you hear about the concentration camps across the region, you don't just think of it as some far-off news story, but instead remember Aziz. You remember his face, his stories, his kindness, and remember that there are real people behind these statistics, and there are real people behind these horrendous stories. I think we really have to do more as a Muslim community, and maybe more importantly, we have to do more as human beings. I think we have an obligation to.
Külelmez Elkün'nün yürek qatidin, ketmise qıştahi dehqan öyedin, çillaydı pəslge ateş mehridin, kelgin ey baharım, seni sorayım. Thank you.